The first time I saw him again, it felt like the air was ripped from my lungs. For years of silence, of pretending I had moved on, crumbled in a single heartbeat when Captain Ryan Hale walked into the briefing room and I realized my new commanding officer was the man who had once owned my heart. The room was buzzing with the low hum of soldiers exchanging quick words before orders. But I barely heard any of it. All I could focus on was the way his uniform clung to his broad frame, the way his hair shorter now still curled slightly at the edges, and the way his piercing blue eyes locked on me the second he stepped inside. It wasn't a glance. It was a claim. "Sergeant Cole Adams," he said, voice calm but carrying an edge only I could recognize. "Report to my office after this." Every pair of eyes in the room turned to me. I straightened my back, forcing my voice steady. "Yes, sir." I thought 4 years would dull the sharp edges of what we were. I thought time would soften the bitterness, the love, the anger. I was wrong. The moment I heard his voice, I was back to that last night train pounding against my apartment windows, his scent wrapped around me, and the final words that shattered us both. Now he was my superior officer, and from the way he was looking at me, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. When the meeting ended, I barely had time to gather my notes before his voice cut through the room again. "Adams, now." I followed him to his office, my boots heavy on the polished floor. The door clicked shut behind us, and before I could speak, he was in front of me close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. "You didn't tell me you were back in the Corps," he said quietly, but his tone carried an unmistakable accusation. "I didn't think it was your business anymore." I shot back, keeping my gaze on the neat row of medals pinned to his chest. His hand moved before I could react, fingers wrapping around my wrist, not painfully, but firmly enough to remind me who he was. "Everything about you," he said, "is still my business." I yanked my hand free, my pulse thundering. "You lost that right when you walked away, Ryan." The way his jaw clenched told me my words hit home. But instead of anger, there was something else in his eyes, something dangerously close to longing. "Things are different now," he said, softer this time. "And whether you like it or not, you're under my command. That means I'm responsible for you." I should have walked out. I should have told him to keep his distance. But the truth was, my heart was betraying me, beating faster with every word, every breath he took. The following weeks were a silent war. Orders were given and followed with precision, but beneath the surface, there was always something simmering. Long glances across the training field, the brush of a hand when passing equipment, the way his scent lingered in the air when he stood too close. One night, after a grueling field exercise, I was heading to the showers when I found him waiting by the door to my quarters. "You're pushing yourself too hard," he said, stepping into my path. "I can handle it." "I know you can, but I also know when you're burning yourself out." His voice dropped lower. "I'm not going to watch you fall apart again." I stared at him, my chest tight. "Why do you care?" His eyes darkened, and in a single step, he closed the space between us. "Because I never stopped." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and dangerous. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about command, or duty, or the past we never buried. This was about the truth neither of us had been brave enough to face. I froze. My breath caught, and for a moment the hum of the barracks faded into nothing but the steady thump of my heartbeat. "You don't get to say that," I whispered, though my voice shook. "Not after what you did." His hand hovered between us, as if he wanted to touch me but didn't dare. "Cole, that night." "I don't want to hear it," I cut in, turning away. But his voice followed, deep and steady, the same way it used to pull me back even when I swore I was done. "I left because I was ordered to," he said, each word measured, like it cost him to speak. "It wasn't my choice. They sent me overseas with no notice. I tried to reach you. I wrote, called, nothing got through. By the time I came back, you were gone." The words slammed into me like a physical blow. My fists clenched at my sides. "You could have found a way." "I did," he said, stepping closer, his scent surrounding me again. "And I still am." That night I didn't sleep. His voice kept replaying in my head. tangled with the memories of what we were. Every touch, every kiss, every fight. I hated how badly I wanted to believe him. Weeks passed, and the tension between us became impossible to ignore. It was in every training drill, every mission briefing. And then came the night everything broke. We were deployed for a late-night recon exercise in the rain. The terrain was slick, and visibility was low. I slipped on a wet incline, my ankle twisting painfully. Before I could curse, Ryan was there, hands gripping my arms, steadying me like the ground beneath us wasn't crumbling. "You're hurt," he said, scanning me with that fierce intensity one remembered too well. "I'm fine." "Cole, you're not," he snapped. Then softer, "You don't have to be." I didn't know if it was the rain soaking us through or the raw edge in his voice, but something in me cracked. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded. "Why are you still looking at me like that?" His hands slid to my shoulders, warm even through the chill. "Because you're mine. You've always been mine. And I was a fool to let anyone make me forget that." My throat tightened. "And if I don't want to be yours anymore?" His smile was faint, sad, but unshaken. "Then I'll fight until you do." The rain fell harder, blurring the world around us, and before I could think better of it, I leaned in. His lips met mine halfway, hungry, desperate, like we'd both been drowning and finally found air. It wasn't gentle. It was years of anger, longing, and love we'd tried to bury, all colliding in one impossible moment. And when we finally broke apart, I realized I was holding on to him like I'd never let go again. Back at base, things didn't magically fall into place. We still had the chain of command, the unspoken rules, the weight of our past. But something was different now. We weren't avoiding it anymore. One evening, after the day's drills, I found him in his office, sleeves rolled up, reading over reports. He looked up when I entered, and that small, knowing smile spread across his face. "Close the door," he said softly. I did, and for a long moment we just stood there, looking at each other. Then I crossed the room and slid into his arms, the way I'd wanted to for 4 long years. "This doesn't change the past," I murmured against his chest. "No," he agreed, pressing a kiss to my hair. "But it means we get to build something new." In the weeks that followed, we learned how to move forward, quiet conversations in the mess hall, stolen glances in the field, the kind of touches that said more than words ever could. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And when the next deployment orders came, this time we faced them together. Because Ryan Hale might be my alpha commander, but more than that was the man who had fought his way back into my life. And I wasn't letting go again. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.